And she's like, because we do have to meet with what? We have to meet with lawyers. So. And then I'm going to work dressed as funny.
Good evening, Bellingham. Happy holidays, December 16, 2024, Board of Selectmen meeting. As a customary, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On our agenda this evening, on 7 PM on the citizens input part, Mr. Marty Roche.
Thank you, Chair. I don't need to stand.
Please
Have a seat, because I
There's a
want
part
to
where
make
you'll
sure.
hear me.
Mr. Roche, we'll give you a few minutes. Obviously, there's a time, I think Hillary explained that.
Yep.
Floor is yours, and how can we help you?
I just wanted to come as not only a townsperson, but also a member of the search committee. And voice my displeasure with the board and the decision that they came to a week ago. And I wanted to bring up some information that really needs to come to light, and it has to do with you, Mr. Hennessy. You made postings right after the meeting, one on video and then the other written. One, you made mention that the candidate was not qualified because of the town charter. So after I'm done, because I'm gonna say my piece, then I would like you to answer exactly where in the town charter. And I want you to pull up the pages, because there's nothing in the town
I never said
charter
he
that,
wasn't qualified by the
yes, you
town
did.
The others were, some others were.
No, they weren't.
He asked about you.
No, they
But he
weren't.
was totally, I wrote, if you read, I wrote, he is 100% qualified. I never.
No,
questioned
you didn't
his
write 100%
qualification.
qualified, so I'm not gonna get into that. You can answer after. You said it was a difficult decision and that you met with department heads and employees. And I'm gonna use what Mr. Martinez had mentioned. This is an $80 million company. Since when do employees and department heads hire the CEO of a company? They don't. Okay, and that's what you did. You went and solicited. And some of the information you told people, you and I both know where you got that information and how you got it. You admitted it to me out in that lobby, and
Okay.
there were witnesses.
Okay.
And you got a better look in yourself in the mirror and a hard look,
Okay.
because what you did was unethical.
Okay.
Jen, you ran on transparency. Your whole campaign to get on the select board. I'm comfortable with my decision. That's all you made a statement. You don't think this townspeople deserve to know your opinions and why and how you got to these decisions?
Do you want me to answer that? I'm gonna answer
No, you
that.
can answer after, because I want to keep my time. You said, let's talk about a transition plan. Last special meeting, you knew you were gonna sit here, we're gonna vote. Three of you already had talked to one another. You knew you weren't gonna vote them in. So why didn't the board have a transition plan right then and there and start explaining how we're gonna get our asses out of this mess? As of January 1st, Dennis Fran is no longer here. This town will no longer have a town administrator. That was your job. We gave you candidates. You failed
our
us.
job.
You have failed us. For 2 years, you have failed us. And you failed this town. And it's inexcusable. Now, hopefully you guys have had, I don't know how you've had meetings to figure out this transition plan and what the next steps are. But I hope you consider still keeping a search committee, because there was 25 resumes in that book that only 5 of us know of. Except for somehow in town, people seem to know some of the names, and I don't know how that is. Because we all signed NDAs, and I know none of us talked about it. That's all.
I'm just gonna, I know first question was to you, and then Jen, I believe, and you guys anything to say, and then before I.
You read what I wrote, you can read it. You can go online, my pages. my selectman page, it said he's qualified. Why I went to the employees? We're a board of 5. I never once talked to Jen about this situation. We're neighbors. Never talked about this. I had to deal with my conscience. I asked the department heads because they're the ones that may be most affected. They're used to somebody that's been here for 40 years. The management style is extremely different. I'm not going to go into specifics about the management style, but Dennis's management style is very different. And employees reached out to me with concerns. These employees are residents. These employees keep this $80 million machine going. So I listened to them. And one employee that I highly respect really kind of got to me. And I believed what he said, because this person is not only respected here in the town of Bellingham, they are respected statewide for their position. So that's how I came to my conclusion. That's it. Nobody else influenced my decision other than
So
me.
you used hearsay.
I didn't use hearsay. Employees can talk to each other. There's
How did they research this person?
Because when he sat in front of us, it became an open meeting, and then
Correct.
my phone blew up with employees saying, there's nothing wrong with calling their counterparts in other communities. There is nothing wrong with that. They can call their counterparts in Northborough, they can call their counterparts anywhere they want and talk, and believe me, they do. So there's nothing wrong with
Your
that.
background check came back clean. Okay.
Okay, but it's my decision.
Yep, I
And
know.
there's 5 of us on here. I never once talked to her about this decision. I called in and just kind of told Ann, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Okay, she listened to me because Ann's been around. Ann's been doing this a very long time. So it is nothing wrong with bouncing opinions off, especially within town employees, calling other town employees. So these people work here every day. They keep this machine running. If they're not happy, if somebody comes in here and flips the dynamic upside down, it's going to affect every single person in this town. And I wasn't okay with that. So that's why I voted the way I did. And I wrote it down. So you can go in there and read it and you can tell.
Where's the town charter violations?
There is no
Please
town,
explain.
this guy is totally qualified for the town charter. There were others who probably weren't. And I sat there and I asked you and you shook your head, yes.
No,
I
we did
said,
not.
are there people on that list, not the people that we interviewed, there are people on that list, and you shook your head yes to me.
Not that it didn't violate, it violated the town charter.
They
I
weren't-
never said that.
You shook your head yes at me.
Absolutely not.
Okay. But it doesn't matter. I never said he never qualified for the town. This
But you
man-
voted there that there was,
I wrote it.
there was a problem.
I
with the
wrote it
town
in there.
charter, and there wasn't.
I said I will
Please
not
be very
hire
careful
somebody.
What you claim we did or
I
did
will
not
not
do.
hire somebody. I don't care who it is. If we go through a committee next time, we use whoever. I will not put somebody in that chair that is not qualified per the town charter. That is what I said. I did not say he was not qualified. I said nobody will be sitting in that chair that is not qualified per our town charter. That is what I said. I said nothing about him not being qualified. He is very qualified. His management style, I don't think would jive with what I heard from our town employees calling me. That's why I made that decision. You want to fillet me for that, go right ahead, but I'm gonna back my people.
I believe 2 weeks ago, prior to us making that decision, we asked for more resumes. Is that correct? Do you
You asked
remember?
if we could potentially give you more candidates.
I did ask for more, correct?
We came before you.
And I did ask for that, correct?
Yes,
So, and when I was not given, and I believe multiple of us had asked for more resumes through Dennis. I believe that was the case, and nothing was presented, correct?
we told you there were not qualified candidates to present
I
to
was
you.
never given anything else to go on but what the last candidate was standing to vote upon. Given that, I was comfortable with my decision saying I was not gonna go yes with that. I was very comfortable with that because I had asked for more resumes and wasn't presented any.
No, you asked for qualified
I
candidates,
said I'd asked for more candidates. I mean, that was my statement.
and we said there weren't any.
That wasn't comfortable with me. And so I was comfortable saying I was not gonna select that last. And I believe I'm not the only one that asked for more candidates as well.
And we addressed that because we had conversation.
And I respect that. I really do, but I do remember saying that I did want to see what else was out there. I remember saying that in this room. And not having anything else to go on is why I made my decision and I was comfortable with my decision because of what the evidence was given to me.
But I have to ask the question, Mr. Chair, what does that have to do with his qualifications? Mr. Coder's qualification based, I just don't get that logic. What does that have to do with Mr. Coder? Because we asked him we asked him specifically when Mr. Sahan brought this up, we asked him. He says, I'd like to get more candidates. And they said, in the pool of candidates, there isn't any more candidates that meet the qualifications criteria that we set forth as a board. They presented the best ones to us. So I don't understand by going back into that pool has anything to do with Mr. Coder's
You don't
qualifications.
recall, you want to tell me you did not ask for more candidates as well?
Did I ask for more candidates? I said I was open to the idea.
So there was no conversation that you had asking for more candidates,
No,
not in this room.
I responded to an email
Yes,
to Dennis.
asking for more candidates. Correct.
Dennis sent an email out and basically said, I said, I'm open to the idea. When they came in and said, there's no, listen, when they came in and said, I was open to the idea because one, I have no idea who was on that list, none whatsoever.
Nor do I.
Okay, so, but when they told us that there weren't qualified candidates remaining, I pulled back. I don't want to interview and waste people's time on individuals that aren't qualified to run to have the position. There's no way.
So when we were down to 2 candidates, you want to tell me that the email was not saying I would like to see more applications?
Jen, I just answered the question.
And I'm telling you, there's an email saying different.
And what I said was, yes, I'm open to the idea. I
And yet we don't
absolutely
have more
was.
candidates. And yet we don't have more
No,
candidates.
no, you're confusing my
We have no more
comment, Jen.
applications to discuss.
You're confusing the point. The point is, what does going back to the well have anything to do with Mr. Coder's qualifications?
I want someone else to
Nothing.
compare him to.
Yeah,
They
that's still not
didn't
here.
have any more.
That's what I'm asking.
Excuse me,
for.
excuse me, I'm just gonna stop everybody here for 1 second.
That's the.
Mr. Roshi asked a question and then he said, you know, it's, I'm just gonna respond to that and then we're gonna move on. And then I will give you a chance, I think you were gonna mention something, and then after that we move on the agenda as we plan. And I think, you know, Mr. Labashian mentioned that too, you know, it's, at the last meeting. It's, first off, is I thank you before and I appreciate it for all the work you have done so far. It's, that wasn't the question at all. And, the second thing is at the end, you did your part, and then what do you believe, and then you said those were the candidates, and then you presented to us. And then once we end up losing a couple of the candidates, and I think, you know, that we respectfully ask you more candidates. And then when you mentioned that there was nobody else that presented in your view, and I think, you know, it's, we move on with that process at the moment. And, at the end of the day, we're gonna still make a decision as a board and, whatever that might be.
Can I say
And, just one more second, I'm sorry. And then,
something?
and, and I don't exactly recall how many applicants were in there, but I think you mentioned that there were some applicants
25.
in there, 25. So we end up with 4, and then 2 dropped out, and then 2 more at the end. And then make the long story short, you know, it's, in my opinion, and then, you know, I wish I seen more, but it wasn't the case. And, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And when it comes to the transition plan, and, myself included, and then, you know, so we had some discussion, and I think, Mr. Frame is gonna mention that momentarily as soon as when we're done here. And then after that, I know I promised you, I was gonna get back to you. I think I answered all the questions Mr. Roche was asking at the moment. And, I highlighted those. Mr. Rabashian?
Okay, I just want to say, Mr. Rhodes, it's right. And she's right. I did ask, if you remember, I asked for more candidates and then you explained the process you went through and you said, listen, there's a whole big, you know, empty spot almost like between the 4 you gave us and what was left. And at that point in time, I turned and said to all of you, after listening to them, I am going to retract what I'm doing and leave it as is because I'm going by their knowledge and what they put the time and energy into. There was no reason not to pick Mr. Goddard and, you know, but we can get into that and go on and on all night long about this one. I understand why Mr. Roach is angry, and I think that we did do a huge disservice to this town. And I understand Mike's reasoning. I know he's thinking that what is right because of what the employees say, but never in all my years sitting here have the employees sat here and dictated what this board is going to do, and I've hired a lot of different positions in 35 years. Employees don't make the decision, and you know what, somebody's styling may be different than what Dennis is, but that's not a bad thing. You're not gonna get the same type of person to come in here who is another Dennis. You're not gonna have, that's not gonna be. I would love it. We're not gonna get it. But we have serious problems right now, serious problems, and we look like complete idiots with the communities around us, just so you know.
I appreciate it for your input, and I know I promised you I was gonna give you a chance, and then after that, you're gonna move on. Yes.
A statement from, on behalf of the committee,
Absolutely.
and it might answer some of the things that was going around here. So good evening, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
My name is Shannon Lynn, and I was the chairperson of the Town Administrator Search Committee. And I'm here to provide some additional insight into the search committee's approach, which we believe will hopefully aid your next steps in your search.
I appreciate that. I think you'll appreciate it.
In July 2024, the select board initiated a second search for a town administrator after the 2023 attempt was unsuccessful. A search committee of residents was formed and officially appointed in August. Our mandate from the select board was to review applicants, assess qualifications against the town charter and job posting criteria, and recommend candidates to the select board for the final interview stage. The final hiring decision was up to the select board. In September, we received and reviewed the 25 submitted resumes using a rubric to assess the key competencies identified in the job posting to meet the requirements of the town charter and posting. This resulted in the selection of 6 candidates to move into the initial interview round. In mid-October, we interviewed these 6 candidates and plan to recommend 4 to the select board for final interviews. However, prior to the November 4th select board meeting, where we would officially make our recommendations, 1 candidate had withdrawn, resulting in 3 candidates being presented to the select board. November 19th was the select board interview panel meeting. In the days before the meeting, another candidate withdrew as she had received another position. On November 18th, the committee held the meeting that the chair of the select board joined, asking for us to go back to the resumes to identify additional candidates for the select board to interview. The reason the committee pushed back on this request was for several reasons. 1, it had already been 2 months since the posting closed, and to go back to the well to identify additional candidates would lengthen an already too long process. 2, we felt like we still had 2 very strong candidates, and it seemed premature to be asked to obtain more candidates in advance of the interviews occurring the next day. And finally, in our opinion, there was a clear drop-off in the quality of the candidates between the 4 we had initially submitted and the rest of the pack. On November 19th, the select board interviewed the 2 candidates but couldn't reach a consensus on hiring decision. Agreement was made to come back and make a final decision pending the outcome of an in-depth background checks on both of the remaining candidates. December 9th was the follow-up select board meeting to decision on the final 2 candidates. However, that morning, one of the candidates determined not to move forward in the process. The committee again was unable to come to consensus on the final candidate, despite no derogatory information being found during the background check. As residents were concerned about the reputational risk to the town created by these failed searches. In addition, we believe the select board members may have been influenced by unofficial feedback. While we assume positive intent in this approach in seeking and considering this feedback, these unofficial channels often perpetuate unfounded rumors and can reinforce existing biases. We wish the select board success in the next phase of the search and hope it results in hiring a qualified candidate to replace Dennis Green, who is literally becoming irreplaceable. Thank you for your time, Tina, Shannon, Marty, Christine, and Dennis.
Appreciate it for the statement.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm just gonna leave it that for at the moment, and then I know we have a public hearing, and then we're gonna be behind schedule on that. And in accordance with Bellingham Code of Bylaws, and General Law, Chapter 140, Section 59, the Bellingham Select Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, December 16, 2024, 7 p.m. at 7:20 in the Arcan Room, 10 Mechanic Street, on the application of Cranes 101 Incorporated for a Class 1 dealer's license, premises located at 57 Mendon Street. Members of the public are invited to attend in person. All right, so how you doing?
Okay, thank you for your patience. I'm recovering from the stroke.
And we wish you a full recovery.
Thank you.
How can we,
Want to explain to the
Yes.
board what your intentions are?
Yes, I would like to upfit new vehicles. It's something that we have experience with. I have two technicians that are very experienced with that. The game plan is to take booms off of old vehicles and install them on a new vehicle with a new body and sell them. And then we can junk the old, the old vehicle. We have 3 vehicles sitting in the yard right now that are ready for upfitting.
are these classics or just any particular cars?
They're trucks.
The trucks, I'm sorry, yeah.
We buy the cabs and chassis.
Yep.
And it's a small time business. We can buy them one at a time.
So it's a brand new truck,
Yeah.
which is why the class one's required as opposed to a class 2, which is going to be a used vehicle. So it's a class 1 and you're outfitting it with equipment.
Right, we're rebuilding the boom and putting it on the truck, and then we can sell it that way. Like we could.
Is there a business established at this location right now?
Yes,
What's the business today, sir?
it's that's Cranes 101.
Okay.
With many divisions, and one of them that we're talking about here is the repair shop.
Is a repair shop. So there's a repair shop at 57 Mendon Street today?
Yes.
And what are the hours of that operation today at the repair shop?
8 to 4:30 or 7:30 to
Are you-
4.
So you'd be looking to retrofit or whatever they call it, these vehicles in an existing business at 57 Mendon Street, or?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand what you're going to do there.
yeah, the task is called upfitting.
Upfitting?
Yeah.
So when you're upfitting, are you doing anything along those lines with older vehicles? That's what I'm trying to understand, if this is gonna change the impact it might have on neighbors in that particular area. That's all, like if you're grinding things and chopping stuff up, I'm just trying to understand the business a little bit better.
We do that type of work on occasion.
Okay,
And it really, as far as the impact is concerned, there'll be very minimal impact.
everything's done inside a shop with a closed door type thing?
Yep.
So no extra noise?
Nope.
Because I see some neighbors here, I'm assuming they're neighbors because they don't look like they're regulars at our meeting, which is why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, Mr. Akari's here as well, as
Yeah.
building commissioner.
Yeah.
All I know is reviewed the application on the property. If there's any questions for him.
Okay. Tim, do you have anything to add, Mr. Accardi? Do you have anything to add?
So he's in the business zone now.
Yep.
From what he explained to me it was an added service he was gonna add under his Cranes 101. That's how he described it to me. A new vehicle obviously needs a class 1 license, so that's
Okay.
what he wanted to apply for. He is currently under a site plan review, which some of the neighbors I think know. He just went through a peer review, so they are still, it is still on the agenda, and Rob is here from the planning department to speak to that, but he is under review now. There will be, the planning board would regulate this with hours and operation,
Okay.
and definitely have, I think a lot of the residents have had input and some concerns with the way he operates, and, that would be a planning board function. So I don't know if you tie it to the planning board approval, or so they could have a voice in the planning board, in the decision of the planning board.
We're gonna continue until such time that's.
Yeah.
May I ask?
Yes, Mr. Mash.
So right now, though, you're not selling those vehicles, correct? The ones that you're doing, the used ones, you're not selling them. So what you want to do is do new ones, but you're gonna start selling them too.
That's correct.
Yeah, and where are you gonna, where in the property are you gonna sell them from? Are
Right,
you gonna use the front end of that property to sell them?
no, the front of the shop. This is typically done online. We have an online store, so this will be just an added item for our online store.
So, you have questions? You
Well,
want to?
I'm trying to figure out,
So I think, what the question that you're asking, is he doing a custom build for a certain customer and not displaying on the property? Is that what you're getting at, Ann?
yeah, so they're not gonna be on the property for sale per se.
So you would be taking orders from someone and building a product? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
So you're not gonna have like 3 or 4 vehicles out there for sale, correct?
no. No need for that.
I think we should continue based on the.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Rob, what is being reviewed? What is the site plan review that the planning board's conducting now?
So it's actually development plan review and stormwater permit right now. As Tim mentioned, that there's been a third-party peer review that's been conducted for, Jay's engineer's design. So they're right now working out the comments for that. This is our first round of peer review. It's continued to, I think it's January 23rd.
Is that associated with this use?
So
No.
the application itself didn't list this use. And if it's an allowed use by right, it wouldn't really need to. But this is helpful to know because one thing that I know we've mentioned, like when I was on site with Jay and his engineer, there's an area in the rear of his existing service building, which is gonna have, it's a paver treatment. And I know that that area is gonna have some restrictions as far as fueling and such. So with that, I mean, the planning board will be happy to discuss, where these pieces of equipment are expected to be and just make sure that they meet the stormwater standards, since that's kind of the big thing that we're looking at. There's been a lot of comments and concerns raised by the neighbors, which we're working through as well. Hopefully that answers your questions. Yeah.
Thanks.
You have any questions?
No, I'm also on.
And I think I'm also having the questions too, I think.
Yeah,
Mr. Martinez, I think Mr. Hennessy has a question too.
No, I think we should hear what the citizens, I don't have any questions myself, I'd like to hear what the neighbors have to say.
Any comment? No?
You can ask if anybody
Yeah,
here to
absolutely.
speak
Anybody,
for or against it.
anybody would like to add anything on this particular matter?
Yes, sir.
Mike White, 84 Rose Ave Extension. Excuse me, I don't speak in public. But currently, there are, I think, like 12 unregistered vehicles on that property. I counted them from my second floor window, counted the vehicles out there. And if he wants to now upfit these new vehicles with old parts, I just can see him bringing in more wrecks and rehabbing them, which is gonna create more of an eyesore for my whole neighborhood. Like I said, Rob knows we have some problems with some runoff from the property already running into my property, and that's being addressed in upcoming planning board meetings. And I know there was talk of how many unregistered vehicles can be on a property, and there are quite a few on that property. And with this, if this gets approved, I can just see more coming in there and creating more of an eyesore for our neighborhood.
Appreciate it.
That's all I got to say.
Any other neighbors? Yeah, any other?
That lady right there, that lady right there.
How can we help?
My name is Mary Delrusso. I live at 76 Rose Ave Extension. My property abuts the back of his property where all the overbrush and everything is that we have to look at constantly. And if he starts putting old cars there, you know, we're gonna have a junkyard to look at in our backyard. And also, I'm very concerned about if he puts any vehicles on the front, because Rose Ave Extension is an extremely hard street to get off. And if they block over there, you know, I had my daughter got T-boned up there and they had to get her out of the car with the jaws of life. So, you know, I'm very concerned about that. And even in the winter, you know, he plows the snow on the sidewalk. He even covered the fire hydrant. I had to call the town once, you know. It's just, I'm just afraid of that. And I don't want to look out my back and see a junkyard. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think it was somebody else.
Did you want to go?
No.
Oh,
You want to go?
Michelle Greenberg, 7 Northeast Drive. So I have the same issue of all of them, but I directly abut the property on the other side of them. And I can tell you now that there's very little woods between his property and mine, and I can already see some tanker containers, whatever they are. I can see all of the trucks. Everything is very visible. And I feel like we've all been probably attending these meetings for about a year. And we bring up the unregistered vehicles, we bring up the need for the burn, we bring up the need for everything, and respectfully, I think it's, you know, you are very accommodating to let us speak. But I feel like now it's December, nothing has gotten resolved with this part of the issues. And now we're moving on to see another request from this company, and I'd love to see the first part taken care of, because I don't think anything has been solved yet. We're complaining about the same things. And now I feel like there's another application, and I don't even know how someone can put in another application when all of the original issues are still apparent. But I'm concerned not only about the fact that the vehicles are between two neighborhoods, the safety. I'm concerned about the fuel we just heard about, because as we know, there's been a lot of fire issues in the, in the environment lately. If anything ever sparked, our neighborhoods are so close to this business. I think you have to take into account the families, the children, not only the aesthetics, but the danger from the concern of that. And I also don't understand, we've talked before in our planning board meetings about how this business was only trying to put the drainage in. And we've confirmed there's no cutting down of trees, there's no expanding of the land, there's no need for more parking spaces, there's no need for more trucks. And if we go back to the minutes in the spring last year, all of those things were confirmed by the applicant. So I'm not sure how we're here now saying, please give me more space to put more trucks in to sell more things on this business, when we've already confirmed that that wasn't, the scope of the original planning board. I guess I apologize. I don't attend enough of these meetings to know how we're in this place, but it seems very unsafe and very, unusual to me that we'd be looking at an application when some of those first issues,
Yes.
I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm probably not being very eloquent.
I appreciate it for your concern, and then, we'll definitely take into consideration. Right before you, if you don't mind, Mr. Martinez actually was gonna ask a question, and we'll get back to you momentarily. Mr. Martinez?
So I was gonna ask a question to either Mr. Arcardi or Mr. Lovers for an answer. So it sounds like there may be potential violations existing today. I don't know if they have too many vehicles unregistered. I'm not gonna ask why it hasn't been handled, but like we've had in the past, where we've had a station in North Bellingham, the former Sunoco, where there was constantly violations. They were constantly up there. They had too many unregistered vehicles. Where are we? Before I would even vote to say, yeah, let's help this person out, I'd want to make sure that everything was taken care of first. You're gonna need to, if there's 12 unregistered vehicles and there should only be 2, you need to get rid of 10. All right, I don't want that area turning into a junkyard either. I'm pro-business, but okay, work within the confines of what we set out as a town. So to me, it's a no at this point, for sure, until I can hear back from Mr. Arcardi and Mr. Loverster that the issues the residents have been bringing up since last spring have been dealt with. Until then, no chance, not for me.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna echo what Mr. Martinez.
And then after that, I gotta give a.
I'm just making a note. I'm gonna support his motion if he goes forward.
Anything else? Sir, I know,
My name is Bill Delarusso, and I back up to his property. But what I'm trying to figure out here is, the notice we got was for a used car dealership. And we're talking about something altogether different here. And I don't understand that. Is that misrepresentation or?
No, it's the class one dealer license, and which, class one dealer license, which is a new vehicle license,
vehicle
Oh,
not a used car.
okay, all right. I didn't understand.
No, that's okay.
But with a new vehicle license, he would be allowed to buy and sell.
That's
That
right.
is allowed with a new vehicle, with a new class one license, so
No.
it is, there is that element too, so just so you know.
And I don't know how restricted that license is as far as number of vehicles.
That would be up to the
That's the
board.
issue.
That would be
Yeah.
up to your
To
board.
me, that would be an issue, because we'd have to put strict restrictions if we were even to allow this to go forward, but my opinion, I'm not making a motion, but my point is, I guess what until it's been through planning board, until I feel confident, I'm not gonna speak for the board, that these items that the residents have raised have been dealt with, I don't think we should be, giving a license at this point.
Mr. Chair.
I really don't.
But I know it's not a motion, but that,
Yeah.
I guess it's the same feeling.
And anything else you want to add, Tim, and as well as Mr. Lucia, in this particular matter, or?
So when he originally came in to do the drainage plan, he stated that, and we had a sidewalk with the neighbors, and they voiced their concerns, and we listened to the neighbors, and he said at the time that when we were talking about the vehicles that were there, he was saying that they train on these vehicles, other than 3 of them that were unregistered at the time, maybe more, I'm not sure, but what he said is that this is how I train. He has classes there, and what else he does, he obviously does repair as well on crane trucks. But that was his statement to us, that he did use them for practice. How many of them he uses every week or whatever, I really don't know.
But the cars weren't brought up at the walkthrough or the site meeting. No
Yeah,
one-
so I went there today to look and I counted everything. I didn't see any unregistered cars. There was no cars, but there was trucks. They were in a line behind his shop. And there was a truck out front. But I don't know which ones he uses. I mean, that he would have to explain to the planning board as well, as far as what his plan is moving forward.
I think we pass until the planning board has done their due diligence. I think we should wait.
Okay.
And then let them bring it back before.
Make a motion.
Anybody would like to make a motion on this now?
I'll make
We
it.
can continue.
It's public, yeah.
It's a public meeting, so it's just a continuation.
So motion to continue?
Yep,
Yes.
No,
I'll
second?
second it.
so we got second, any further questions? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Yes.
We shouldn't have a date specific to when it's being continued.
Um,
So it could be our first meeting in March, because it sounds like it's gonna be before the planning board for a little while.
yeah,
That way,
unless we say we continue until the planning board has completed their review.
Why don't we add that to the motion?
Yeah.
We might add to your motion, continued until
Oh.
it's signed off by planning board and the,
Motion would be to continue until it's signed off by planning board.
Okay.
and I'll second that part of it.
Okay, so we got the first and second on that additional motion, additional part of it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it.
Is that okay, you guys?
Is that okay, Dennis?
So you're following the planning board process. Obviously, it wouldn't be heard until the conclusion of the planning board process, and then the board will schedule it at that time.
Yeah, doesn't agree with planning board.
Right.
We don't need additional license.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
All set, yep.
Good?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
sir.
So, Mr. Strong, what we did was we put this on hold until your issues are solved with the planning board. And the neighbors are satisfied with that issue, and then we can return to this, okay?
And then we'll schedule another day.
And did I get a chance to speak?
I think when we asked the question earlier, and I thought that was your part,
The presentation.
presentation, yeah.
I never said anything.
Well, you really do have to let us speak, so.
Okay, please, if you have anything to add, then you guys,
The meeting's still open.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, sir. I think we all get confused. I'm sorry, Ines. When we asked the question, what was the purpose of the business and then what was the whole reason? And then you said you're gonna, I asked a question and then you mentioned that that's a new truck's outfit.
Yeah.
And you explained that you want to basically remove the chassis and then you're gonna put the new one in. I thought that was the whole explanation of it. My apologies on that, but I think we all get confused, not just me. If you'd like to add something, Ines, we'll give you a couple more minutes and then we'll move on after that.
Okay. So my plan, is very simple. I don't have a staff, nor do I want a staff large enough to bring in multitudes of new trucks. I'll be doing one at a time. We'll upfit them. I have 3 trucks that I want to upfit right now. And those are the only 3 unregistered trucks on the lot. The reason that they're there is the customers abandoned them with us. So we got stuck with them. Every other vehicle that's on the lot, we do use for training. And we use them for licensing as well. We've got plans and we're just waiting for the time to come to put a fence around the back of the property, all the way around the back of the property. We're gonna upgrade, I think, to vinyl because the fence that's there is falling down. It's not even that old, but it's falling down, it looks bad. Once the planning board approves our changes to the retention fund, that will give us access to the fence, so we can put a fence up. So all of the neighbors won't be able to see in the yard. I'm not in the position to run a junkyard. I don't want to run a junkyard. If we bring in a junk truck, we bring it in because we want the boom. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the boom off of the truck and junk the truck. And that's what we've done in the past, and we'll continue doing that. Only reason we don't do it with the 3 trucks that are there is we don't have title on them. If we have a class 1 dealer's license, we'd be able to obtain the title and get those trucks upfitted and get them out of there. So the official count for unregistered vehicles is 3. They're all parked in a line behind the shop. We try to keep things clean. We don't want any environmental problems there. But that's why we'll work in the shop for every job that we can, so we don't spill any oil on the asphalt. Going forward, the plan is that I've obtained financing, or I've just about obtained financing to put new windows in the front building, reside the next building, and repave the back of the yard. The paving back there is all spidered and broken. That'll bring the property up, and it would be a more proud place to be. That's what we have for a plan.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it. Sorry we didn't let you speak. Apology.
I appreciate it.
Sorry about that. So just, after the planning board review, and then we'll continue this discussion, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Just so that the neighbors are clear.
Yep.
So we put this on hold, the license for this is on hold until the planning board review and the issues are resolved, okay? Just so you all know. I
That's
just-
very fair.
I just want to make sure you understand what we're doing.
Can I, he was talking about some kind of a fence. when he first came here, and he had his businesses, he was told that he was supposed to put a fence 4 houses down, which my house is number 4 on the street down. I never got a fence. He took some bushes and stuck them in the ground and said they would grow. I never got it. I complained, I never got a fence. Then he put up half a fence on my property because all that brush grows into my yard, which is like all poison ivy and everything, okay? So then he took it down. And now there's only 2 sections of the fence, so he never put the fence where he was
We
supposed
can
to.
look into that approval that the
Yeah.
board had when the
Yeah.
license was.
Yeah,
That
was
goes back
granted.
a long time ago. I wrote to you a couple
Yeah,
times.
I do recall, you're right, it was many, many years ago.
I called them
Yeah.
about 3 years ago and I said, when am I getting my fence? And they said, June. Never,
Yeah.
never, you know.
We can
so-
tie it into what the
The
planning
time
board
of
is
the
doing.
review,
as well.
and then, you
So
know,
that, they're
we'll
gonna
revisit
review it
that.
off, so that way we'll make sure everything gets done correctly.
Yeah, yeah,
And
thank
and
you.
that's important, because we should be holding these people, their feet to the fire per se. If they say they're going to put a fence up, they should put the fence up.
Yeah,
And we
well,
should have a process in place to go back 6 months or 3 months. Is the fence there?
well, you know, I was arguing and then my husband said, just, you know, then he's not gonna do it. He says he's gonna do it, but he never did it. And, you know, I mean, it's not fair to me. We take care of our property to have to look at that, especially when the leaves come off. That's what we see, you know, and it's not right. And then all that stuff comes in our yard. And I'm very susceptible to poison ivy, so it hasn't been fun.
I don't think the board is gonna agree on our part, you know, it's until all the things
Right,
you
until
asked
everything's
for.
resolved.
Yeah,
Thank you,
everything's resolved, absolutely.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Motion for adjournment. No, it's been.
No, no, thank you.
I'll put the, planning board review. Okay, the next thing is, I know we are behind the schedule a little bit here, and, so, I, would like to say something, and it's, regarding to Mr. Frame. And, so Dennis and I, you know, it's, we have quite a bit of conversations, either before and, since, he decided to come back. And, so I'm one of those people that pretty much bugs him every single day. It's not just, you know, what we need for the town, as well as some of the questions I might have. We discussed it in the past and, regarding to Mr. Frame. And I'm not gonna get into those, details. And, I want everyone to know that, you know, it's, be constant, in communication with Mr. Frame pretty much every day, maybe sometimes a couple times a day. And we had some discussions regarding to that matter, and if you don't mind, Dennis, I will pass that to you really quickly. And it's,
Absolutely, yeah,
before we continue.
sure. What I had to, and I know I wrote to the board over the weekend that I would be pleased to continue on in the capacity that I have been serving for as long as it takes to get a successor in. I know we've struggled a bit, but it doesn't mean that we don't all have the same common goal to get somebody in here that can do the very best for the town. Obviously, we all have vested interests because we're all residents of the community, so happy to do that. I continue to work very closely with the department heads. As you know, I was away for a period of time last year. I'm confident that I can do the same thing during my absence this year. I will be back the end of January. In today's world, a lot is done electronically, virtually. I'll continue to do that work as well. And I feel confident I can do that. And I know the board had expressed concern about, you know, the fact that I'd indicated that I was done January 1st, and that was the plan, and fully expected somebody that would be in here, but it didn't work out that way. We've got a lot going on, and I'm in the middle of quite a bit, and I'd be happy to keep doing that if the board would like to continue that arrangement. And obviously, it's something that I very much enjoy doing and would be happy to continue doing until such time as we have a successor in place.
Mr. Sahan?
Absolutely.
So Dennis, this was, we had, I guess last week for the transition plan. So is this what you're proposing as your transition
Yeah,
plan?
yes,
Okay.
Mr. Sheen and I had
Yep, okay.
talked. I think it's the simplest thing to do, from a continuity perspective. The options were to try and hire someone on an interim basis, go out and see if we can recruit a retired manager. We did have one individual that may have been interested, but when I spoke to him, he was on a beach in St. John's and had something else lined up, so it didn't work out so well with that one particular person. Not to say there aren't others, and if the board felt more comfortable pursuing another option, certainly, I would understand that and support whatever the board wants to do, but I offer that as an alternative at this point in time.
Does this require a motion and a vote?
Yeah, if you'd like.
So I'd like to make a motion to accept Dennis's transition plan to continue in the capacity that he's serving us today, until we have found a replacement for Dennis. So we don't know when that'll be, but I guess we'll just continue down that path and until we come up with a plan of attack.
Second. So we got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. And,
Yeah,
Mr.
no,
Lane?
happy to do that. I didn't want to suggest that as an alternative because I wanted to make sure that the process wasn't compromised and that we went through fully with the process and here we are.
And also I would like to maybe just, highlight a little bit, it's, when we're talking about, it's a succession plan for the town. It's, I know we tried it once, we tried it twice, but at the end, as I said it, last year, probably this year too, we're gonna do our best as long as it takes. And then until Mr. Frame is comfortable, as well as whole board is on board with all the decision, we're gonna make. And meanwhile, of course, we're gonna look at different alternatives too, but that will be.
Well, I think that's something the board
Yeah.
has to decide,
And then, I think everybody's comfortable at the moment with the decision, we move forward with at the moment. Anybody would like to add anything? Sort of Sebastian, I know Mr. Martinez put too much.
No, I'm happy with this, at the moment.
Okay, it's perfect. And, so everybody's okay with it, and then we'll move to the next thing on the agenda. Other business.
Mr. O'Connell, what was it?
I have a question and a comment. I just want to thank the board and Dennis for what you do.
I'm sorry.
It's much appreciated.
He's thanking
You
us.
give a lot of time to this town and we're very grateful to have
Yeah,
you.
no, I appreciate that. I'm a humble bumble and I've received a lot of attention over the last year and I appreciate that. But obviously, I enjoy doing it. I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to be here and, working with the people working, we want to make sure for all of our sakes, I've got quite a few family members in this town. My children have moved here and my brothers that families that live here. So, we want the best for the community.
Thank you.
We all want the same thing.
Thank you. Thank you, Dennis. Annual license renewals.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the license as presented.
Second.
Pending,
Pen-
pending all.
Pending all taxes and reviews are completed.
I'll second that.
We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. And, so the next thing is, vote on gifts and grants.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the $500 gift for the Bellingham Police Department.
Second.
We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. And,
Mr. Chairman,
yes. Ms.
we'll make a
Ozaki.
motion to accept the minutes of November 19th, November 25th, and December 2nd as presented by Hillary.
We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Any, old business? Mr. Martinez?
Yeah, just regarding the process that we just went through. And I heard what Mr. Roach said about continuing down this process, I just want to make a comment. I think we've all been through an awful lot over the past few months, and I just would strongly recommend that we just take a pause for a little bit. Get through the holidays, get through New Year's, the whole bit. Go into February, think about how we want to approach. What we're going to be coming up against is that all of these positions are cyclical, especially in municipal government. You've got people that are looking to move from one town to another. They're seeing if there's going to be positions available, if there's budget, all that kind of stuff, because everyone's working on budgeting. They're not leaving right now.
Yep.
But like last year, and come July and August, when the resumes and applicants came in, there was a good pool. So I think it would be imprudent of us to start this process right away, because we're not going to get any better than we already had. And we couldn't come up with a decision based upon the best candidates that were given to us. So it makes no sense at this time to go back and to start this process over again. I think we need to take a pause, just like we did with town council.
Yep.
Let's take a pause, let's wait a bit. Let's let Dennis do his thing, get through the winter, get through the budget, get through town meeting. And then make a decision based upon that after town meeting, what is it we do? I am not speaking for the board, but I believe, and we've said it, that this committee did an outstanding job.
Yep.
I'd be happy with them continuing. I don't know if they want to. That'll be their decision. Okay, but I can tell you, they did outstanding work, presented us the candidates.
Right.
And when Dennis sent that email out, I'll say yes, I thought it was a good idea, but after the presentation they gave us and said, there really wasn't a good pool. Like Ann said, I pulled back too and said, let's just focus on the two. If there were others that were borderline, yeah, okay, let's have a conversation. But right now, I am not, we have Dennis here. There's no borderline candidate out there that's gonna fill his shoes, even in him 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
So I think we just need as a board, it's my recommendation, it's old business, I just think we need to take a pause. That's all I'm saying about that.
Mr.
Yeah,
Levesque?
I agree totally with Don. However, I will say this, if we were to do a committee again, this is the committee I would want, because I have a lot of faith in what you did, and I have a lot of respect for what you did. And I believe you would do the best for the town once again. So I'm not looking to go pick out another bunch of people to come and do this. We've got the right group. So I have no problem when we're ready for you guys, if you want to do it again.
I think we got pretty good solid foundation.
Yes,
Listen,
absolutely.
what the democracy, is the key thing is what's gonna make it work is, it's you're gonna have agree to disagree. We cannot agree on a lot of things. It's, some of us are married, some of us are not, but there is always agreement, disagreements. At the end, we're trying to do the right decision, make sure everybody's on board with that. I think it's the taking a pause for a moment, and then we kind of, regroup and then focus on, and it might be some other ideas as well. And I think let everybody enjoy the holidays, and the Dennis is here, we got fantastic team, and let's get through the budget season, and so we got a lot of things in the works. And we still appreciate it for everyone's hard work. And I'll just say no more. Anybody else?
I just want an opportunity. This was never about the qualifications of you as a committee. Please know that. It was just about my comfort level at some point and asking for some kind of feedback and some kind of, that's why I'd asked for. And I know we addressed it, but I don't feel that we can, what I'm saying? I didn't feel comfortable.
I don't think we felt, I hear you. And I think it was difficult for us to know when and how we could speak up. And I think we felt like in this entire process, there was a lot of it that we were listened to the least. The employees were listened to, the townspeople were listened to. We took our NDAs and what we were tasked with so extremely serious that I think we weren't heard. Confusion was created. And that became frustrating.
So I think knowing that,
Yeah.
going into another phase of this,
We learned
I'm
a
way
lot.
more educated than I was to
And
know
so-
what that felt like.
Yeah,
It's not that I didn't appreciate the
Right.
time and the energy and your intellect and your ideas. It wasn't any of that.
yeah,
It got down to a point where I'm not comfortable.
yeah.
And that's where I left it. So please do not feel disrespected by me one at all. I heard you. I am
Yeah.
it-
We learned,
motivated that you will do the right thing. You've done the
Yeah.
right thing. It got to a point where I didn't feel that we could.
I think we
close it.
learned a lot
That's all.
too.
I think we're way more educated than we, going into the next step.
Right.
Than we were.
Yeah.
I appreciate that
Third
opportunity.
time
Just
is gonna be
saying
the
that.
charm.
I just have the image of the guys pushing the stone up the hill. With the, going through this with the,
Okay, anything else we want to add on this? If not, anything under the new business?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I walked out thinking we were done. Looking at the agenda. So I was trying to get my daughter's basketball game, but now that ended.
Okay.
And I was watching the live stream. I just want to add one thing, like with whatever your decision is going forward, that would be very helpful and as a good business practice. We followed the agenda to see when we were going to be on the agenda. I know it's all public and everybody can watch that, but what would have been nice is for us to have been invited to those meetings. Because we're working as a team together, and it just would have been just a nice gesture to say, hey, we have you on the agenda tonight. Because the one night when we were here, and it was like the conversation came to us for like an hour discussion, if we didn't come like on our own, where would that have gone?
So you're referring to that Tuesday night after your Monday night meeting when you
Yeah,
were not
just-
invited? You're saying you weren't invited?
We followed the records on our own to come.
Well, I'm sorry, because you should have been invited to the meeting where we were discussing where you're part of that.
Like after we presented everybody, and it was kind of, everybody, with our schedules was trying to come, but it just a simple, let us know that your item's gonna be on the agenda. You might not be talking, but your item's gonna be on the agenda. It's just a good business.
No,
practice.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah.
And that's to my point of, we didn't know when it was appropriate to speak and when we could share stuff. So,
The sadness part is that this board here, you volunteered, we went through, there were presentations. And you were the group that was gonna present to us the final candidates. And if you didn't feel like you were held in high esteem, shame on this board. Because I didn't feel that way, and I think you heard me. I mean, you absolutely were held in high esteem. At first I even said, I was concerned about the legitimacy of that. I really thought we should start with the professional recruiters first. And then after the professional recruiters whittle theirs down, then give it to you, because who knows what your background's going to be in that type of vetting process, right? So I wanted to start with the professionals, let them vet, and then bring it to the committee, like yourself, and then have you spend time with me, interview them the whole bit, vet them again. And that was another filter. That was my original thought, but you did an outstanding job. I mean, the qualifications you all have are outstanding, so I'm sorry that you didn't feel as though that you were held in high esteem, because your opinion absolutely mattered, which is why we were asking you that many questions, but you obviously weren't prepared. Well, you were, because you knew your
We
stuff.
were, but we
You
weren't.
were prepared, but you weren't,
We just didn't
you
know
didn't
we were
know,
gonna-
you didn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It was a learning curve for, I think, all across the board and definitely we'll take everything into
That's
consideration.
not blaming anybody, but it's just like a good process practice.
Yeah.
going
Yeah,
forward.
absolutely.
You're right. Thank
Mr.
you.
Rush, we'll give you another minute and then we're
Yep,
gonna move on.
no, it's actually
Yeah.
the question towards Dennis, because all applicants went to Dennis. We have these binders
Yeah.
with 25 resumes.
Yeah, we were gonna wait until after tonight and send an email tomorrow.
Okay.
I already have the email written.
No, that's fine. I just get that. One of the reasons I brought it too,
You can
because
give
I'm
it to
like.
me right now if you want.
Okay.
Save you a trip.
Yeah.
We'll be taking them and shredding them actually.
Right, and I know that, and I could shred them at
We
work,
just
but I
wanted to
know.
see what the board had to
Yeah.
say tonight before we
And
shredded all of those
Right.
resumes.
That's why I had one more comment, and it was said earlier, that when this committee was formed, we asked them to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
we took it.
And they took that
really
very,
serious.
very seriously,
Very.
because I remember I brought it up, I said it to Dennis. hey, if we're gonna have a committee, we need to make sure there's an NDA. They're getting the list. They can communicate with themselves, it's like a jury, right? They can talk, but they shouldn't be talking out. You know what? We need to follow the same principles.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt.
But we didn't.
No, we were,
Where's the
at-
candidates?
we
in
were
the
at a
public?
very big
Right.
Yeah, once
disadvantage.
they went public,
And as a
certainly.
citizen,
It's different, yeah, but still, as far as
Whatever the
knowing the
information they
list,
had, they
as
only-
far as knowing the
they had
list and the other
information,
stuff.
No one
Yeah.
else.
And that's the concern I have moving forward too, is that we need to be held to the same standard that that committee's held to.
absolutely. We held ourselves to a much higher standard than what I've heard in this last month and a half since the candidates were presented, the stuff. I took it very seriously. I held myself to an extremely high standard. I didn't discuss anything in the binder, but I didn't discuss anything outside of here too.
Yeah.
And you know what? That didn't help. Because everybody else got input on the streets, by phone calls, everywhere. And we had the most information and we were able to say the least here and in the public.
We appreciate it for that. Thank you. Anything on the new business?
Yes, I do.
Mr.
I have
Martinez?
something on the new business. So a couple of weeks ago, Dennis and I attended a coffee hour at the senior center. With one of the Department of Housing, I guess she's part of Department of Housing, Senior Affairs, et cetera. It was really quite interesting to sit down and to just chat and get to know this person and what her responsibilities are. She's goes around to all the senior centers. She's sort of an outreach person. She's an advocate for the seniors in the state of Massachusetts. And through the conversations, senior housing came up. And Mr. Fitzpatrick, who's here tonight, I was kind of making a comment about we're looking at veterans housing and what do you mean veterans? And so all of a sudden Jim's telling me. So I followed up with Jim to learn a little bit more about senior housing needs, because it's something that we know there's needs, but do we really know? Now, I think we all know in this town, but has anyone ever done anything really about it? I know we have a housing group, et cetera, but I wanted to point something out. In speaking with Jim, he got me some numbers. You know, there are 4,540 seniors on a waiting list today for public housing.
Excuse me, that's not accurate.
Well, that's what you gave me 2 days ago.
That's the total number of elderly and handicapped.
And, oh yeah, well, I was gonna break it down.
Okay.
I'm breaking it down. 2,568 are handicapped and they're eligible for this type of housing. 1,931 are elderly. Of that group, there's 81 Bellingham residents today these are on a list. They're on a list. 81 Bellingham residents are on the list. Of the 81, 7 of them are veterans. Today, we have Rentham Manor, which has 56 units and only 59 residents. Depot Court, 64 units and 67 residents. We've got in Rentham Manor, we have 9 residents on second floors that today require first floor because of their physical limitations. Depot Court, there are 3. What does all this mean? What I'm bringing up here to the board, I brought up like the veterans thing last fall. I think we need to ask our housing folks to come in and talk with us about what can we do as a board to support the housing needs for our seniors. And I'm not referring to over 55 gated communities or anything along those lines. I'm talking about other residents like a Depot Court in a Rentham Manor. I look in Medway, they have 3. They have 3, plus they have assisted living, plus they have 2 nursing homes. So there's, you look, and then they have the big salmon property now, which is even larger. I have brought up over the years many times, especially during the Macy School thing, when I recommended that we do something like the salmon building before it was the salmon building in Medway. And all the people in that neighborhood all showed up, oh, we can't have it. Can't have fire engines running and ambulances coming down 24/7. Well, I didn't like that argument, but the board at the time decided, okay, we're gonna pursue different. I really think this board should look at what we can do for our seniors in this town. We have 81 residents. We have a housing problem in this town. So right now, homes that are being built, and Betsy showed, hey, this is great for tax revenue. We have new homes being built, 800, 900, $1 million homes. Like, wow. So I asked Jim, of those residents, the 81, a lot of these residents are in homes right now they can barely afford to live in. They can barely afford the Bellingham taxes, even though we have the lowest tax rate in the area. We've seen the numbers. So if they're having a hard time living in those roads, we know we see a lot of homes in certain areas that are kind of aren't, we'll call them disrepair, and I know we have programs to help them out. However, what we could be doing if we had, another type of depot court or a Rentham Manor, is it could help us cycle the inventory that we have in the town today, having new buyers, new families coming into town, maybe upgrading, modifying the home. You see that happening all the time. My point is, there's a lot of opportunity here. We all talk as a board of how we want to help out our seniors. I just think we need to bring in the housing committee, sit down, chat with us, see what can we do. You may be aware, may not be aware, there's a 7-acre lot of land on Center Street.
There is.
7-acre lot of land that we should explore. Now, I know I have no idea how to go about this, but I'm bringing it up to the board because it was like a slap in the head. Don, we have 7-acre property, which I knew of a little bit, and here are the numbers. And we're not doing anything for them. We have a great senior center. We kind of kitchen a whole bit, but that's not living. That's daily, like socializing and the whole bit. These folks need places to live that are safe, that are accessible, etc. And I think that they've got a 7-acre plot of land. And we just need to dig in as a board, get behind it as a board to see how we can help our seniors. I have no idea what can be built on a 7-acre plot of land.
There are larger actually properties available too. I think that would be, maybe we should look into that too, it's especially the north side of the town
So
too.
it's a matter of bringing the housing authority
Housing
in.
authority in, talking to us.
Have a joint meeting with them.
I-
Sort of action.
I know that years ago, I had spoken with the housing authority and we had talked about that 7-acre parcel and developing it, and there was a matter of, they had to go through, there was some sort of state. Wasn't it a grant bill? Am I right?
They provided money.
Right, to help build this parcel and it just never got done.
Correct.
Everybody just kind of dropped it. But that 7 acres could be, and the other thing was, which Dennis worked with me very hard on, and Roland LaPrade, and I, as a matter of fact, it was our life for like 2 years, was the old Pearl Street Mill,
Exactly.
which we had worked so hard trying to get a developer in there to build senior housing. That was the place to be. It was a great site. But the on-site septic sewage was so astronomically expensive, we couldn't get a developer who would come in there and do it because it just wasn't cost effective for them. So that's kind of, but it is something we should have done years ago on that, especially that 7 acres.
I agree. Just a comment. I think 7 years ago, it was a want. And I think we changed the threshold. It's no longer a want. We need to have more senior housing. We've tipped the scales now from wanting to have it to needing to have it. And I think there's a big difference between wanting. And I've started going to a lot of things at the senior center. And they need housing.
But there are, I think, some parcels available, it's at the moment, it's, maybe we should look into it, as a whole, it's maybe should,
Just to piggyback off what Mr. Martinez said. I'll ask because I was kind of shocked to find this out. You know how many family homes the housing authority in Bellingham has? Like family homes, like family,
Don't they have like 12, regular residents?
one.
They have more than that. Jen.
Yeah, I mean, that's the house, that's what I get from the director of the housing authority.
Yeah, they actually own.
They
They actually
own.
own one home, so they.
Would they sell off the rest?
I'm in a favor, someone, we can look into it, maybe we can,
Well, we can schedule them to come
Yeah.
up with a.
absolutely, if you can just.
Give them a
put
little
something on
bit
the
of
books.
notice, yeah.
Yeah.
Like end of January meeting. So they
Yeah,
have a little
absolutely.
notice.
I think it's a great idea, we should definitely put something on the books, and then, we can obviously, get Mr. Akane as well as, Mr. Lucier, the input too, on that matter, a little extra thing on your plate, to look into it.
He's all excited.
Yeah.
He can't wait.
Another one.
Yeah. But they definitely, there are large, parcels, something that can be utilized, it's available at the moment, maybe we should look into it. Anything else we want to add on this?
Yeah, the unique part of this particular parcel is it was acquired by the housing authority specifically for
Senior
housing. It's just what have
Never
never
been-
been, never been.
Yeah,
developed.
100,000 for it in the early 90s, 93, I think.
Wow.
Right, it was early 90s, yeah.
Okay, maybe just, We'll invite him at the, in January. Mr. O'Connell?
Just one comment, in all fairness. A presentation was given in the planning board. When we were doing, Bungay Road. And unfortunately, it was a great presentation. But it came up a night or two while we were drafting the decision. It just came up too late in the process. Because they needed to sell a couple of units. And the timing was just unfortunate for the people involved. But, they have tried to look at things for Center Street.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, we'll kind of regroup and refocus on this, and then, you know, it's, let's see what we can do with it. Obviously, it's been a while. Okay,
Okay.
anything else? Sorry. That was on the new business, Mr. Martinez. Anybody else? Anything else?
I'd just like to say things.
Yes, sir.
First of all, Dennis, you've got a lot to learn about retirement. You're not doing it well. We're all going home to a nice warm house. We have people living behind Market Basket and Walmart. And we delivered them some backpacks with survival gear. It's sad to think.
It is.
Maybe it's time, instead of using this every election, oh, we need housing. Everybody says we need housing. And housing never gets done. Maybe it's time.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath, though I do appreciate. Thanks for coming, especially.
Yeah.
Bill.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
Mr. Markey.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. But 5 years from now, we come back to have the same conversation. There's still gonna be people behind that.
True.
Thank you.
Yeah. Happy holidays.
Can I actually just bring up one thing?
Yes.
As part of the license renewal, one of the things was, we did a corporate name change for, Devlin's Tavern, we changed it to Liz's Tavern.
Yeah.
And we never did they were specific, we never did the DBA change, so her DBA still says Devlin's. So she wants us to change that to Liz's. So we can just make a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
we got first, we got second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
I said I'm sorry.
I didn't hear.
I'm sorry, my
I'm
fault.
gonna have you sign something.
good.
for me.
Okay. Town administrator report. Mr.
Real-
Fay?
Yeah, real quick, we started on the closing my notes on next year's budget. Met with the fire chief today, meeting with departments all week, so we're moving quickly on that. Negotiations, I think we're, maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but I think we're going to be wrapping them up completely relatively soon. So we've had some great cooperation. And I think the key's been the department heads and the positions that we have just been working extremely well with the unions and the groups, and we're getting some good things done for both sides. So it's been a great process up to this point. So I'm very confident where we are with regard to those. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else, Mr. Frank?
No.
Okay, this will, full agenda.
Yeah.
And,
We have an executive session.
yeah, I'm just gonna, yeah. And, before we do that, I know what everyone is watching, and then I appreciate it. Have a fantastic holidays. Thanks for all the hard work, and, happy new year. And I'll see you guys next year.
Yep.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
all very much.
And,
Does someone want to read that?
Yep. Motion.
Thank
hold
you.
executive session.
Thanks, Mike.
Happy threading. Chapter 38, section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public body. The property is located on Maple Street.
Okay, we'll pull the board to go in.
Someone want to give us so moves?
So moved.
Second. Second.
You good?
Yeah, I'll just pull the board and stuff.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.